absolutely delighted to be joined today by Beth Greenacre. And Beth, do you want to introduce yourself to our audience today?
Yes, thank you, Frankie. My name is Beth Greenacre. I am an advisor, curator, and consultant. I have a number of clients, many of whom I've worked with for close to 30 years, helping to build collections, art collections, with meaning, integrity, and with financial stability in mind as well. Um, yeah, I curate exhibitions for my clients. I'm often asked to consider the legacy of one's collections and what happens post ownership with particular collectors. Yeah.
Amazing. And what was it that drew you to the art world? How did you kind of get involved in the early days?
I think from really early on in childhood, I knew that I wanted to work in the art world. I think I was one of those children who questioned an awful lot, trying to understand what on earth it was we were doing here on earth. And artists always gave me answers, or I always sought answers from artists. They always seemed to be able to explain the world to us in non-traditional ways or in alternative ways. So alternative ways of looking at the world. So I was always drawn to artists and to creating myself as a way to explore sort of perimeters and boundaries, and found myself studying art history at the Courtauld in the 90s. So a long time ago when the art world in the UK was very, very different. But it also was a moment when it was filled with possibility, London. You know, the YBAs had made their mark and were sort of ripping up all of the traditional models of the art market and the art world in London. And so it was a moment full of possibility. And when I graduated, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to work with artists and with people who were passionate about art.
Fantastic. And what in those kind of early days and in your childhood where you were searching for answers, how have you found that to shape the work that you're doing now and for your clients?
Well, there's a really beautiful line to be drawn because I find that collectors collect art for those very reasons to understand their position in the world, to understand their histories, um, and to make sense. So, most of my clients build collections because they are interested in understanding new ways of looking at the world and themselves, I think. Art brings meaning to their lives. They enjoy living with the work that they collect. And I think often the relationship that they have with their collections changes over time. You know, as we change and as we sort of our attitudes change or our opinions change or our understandings change, so does your relationship with the art that you collect.
Yeah. And art advisory is often something that's perceived to be for people who've got big collections or potentially lots of money that they can put towards buying art and collecting art. How do you feel that we can kind of open this up to a wider market?
I think I hate that perception that art is closed and that there are barriers to entry to the art market because it's not the case at all. You know, one might choose to start supporting emerging artists, which obviously have a very different price point. But even household names or well-known names, you know, why not buy a print or an edition or a work on paper that is priced very, very differently to a painting or a unique work, for example. So there's so many different routes to accessing the art market.
Yeah, and I think it's very similar in finance. With financial planning and wealth management, people assume you have to have wealth or money to start, and actually, it's about breaking down those barriers and making people aware that there is a place for them. How important is trust in the conversations that you're having with your clients, and how do you build that with the individuals that you're working with?
Well, for most of my clients, trust is absolutely integral to the relationship. When you build a collection and when you work with somebody so closely, it's a very personal thing. We build collections that have um, personal significance. And so you share an awful lot of private exchanges when you build a collection. But not just that. my clients have to trust that I have the integrity and I have the knowledge and I have the connoisseurship to build collections that are going to last and that are going to have meaning beyond their lives, but also are going to be financially smart purchases as well, because the market is vast and it is easy to make mistakes within the art market. I mean, I always say buy what you love. But one can buy what what one loves, and not have the financial value alongside the personal value or emotional value.
And how do you balance the sort of your own personal instinct towards something and the brief that you've been given, and personal tastes of the client that you may be representing?
I mean, it's a really, really good question, because obviously we all have our own tastes because we are all drawn to certain things, or whether it be a medium or a particular period of time or artists. So, as I said earlier, my clients and I work together often over decades. So we spend a lot of time looking. Lots of time looking, talking, thinking, exploring, reading, traveling, before we even make the first purchase. So I really understand what is going to resonate. And sometimes we even come up with a strategy or a sort of narrative as to what we want to bring into the collection. And that's a really, really nice way to sort of understand what the remit might be. That remit might change 10 years down the line. But if you have something that you're working with, whether it's a theme or a time frame or period, then that's a really, really great way for me to be able then to propose works for that collector.
Yeah. And you touched on there that traveling. How much of your work that you do is abroad, and how are you sort of seeing artists coming through? Is it lots more overseas? Are you seeing great works in the UK? What sort of balance is there?
The world in the UK and is world renowned, and people travel to London and and the regions to have a look at the artists here in Britain and our art history, of course. But the art market is an international market, so there is a lot of travel. Thankfully, with digital sort of digitization and the digital world, we're able to access a lot of work online, but you have to see the work in the flesh, in my opinion. And to be able to go and feel and sense an artist's practice. So I spend quite a bit of time traveling for art fairs, for biennials, and looking and talking with as many people as possible.
Yeah. And that global nature that you just touched on, how do you personally sort of stay ahead of emerging trends, but then maybe not get swept up in that kind of thinking about your collections?
I mean, I'm lucky. I mean, like you, Frankie, we love the work that we do, which means that we're always working, but it's always a pleasure to do so. So I'm always looking, I'm always thinking, I'm always engaging. And so you're gathering all of this information every single day of the week. And then how do you not get caught up in trends? It's really easy in the art world to gravitate towards what everybody's talking about, or fashions that are prevalent at that time. However, I think with having spent nearly 30 years looking and thinking, I have an inherent knowledge of what is good and what quality looks like. I suppose some people would call it connoisseurship. It's a bit of an icky word, but I work hard not to be drawn to fashion, because as we know, fashion drops in and out. Really, it's about quality and authenticity. Yeah.
And you touched on the digital age that we're kind of have been in for a long time, but it's becoming ever more fundamental to everything that we do. How are you seeing that changing your industry?
Well, I welcome the digital progressions that we've been seeing, and I don't know whether I've ever told you, but I launched a website in 1999 with David Bowie, or I helped launch a website in 1999, 2000 with David. that was the first time that people were able to look at art online. It was a space for emerging artists, and people thought we were mad. Everybody said nobody's going to look at art online. I mean, and now obviously it's what we all do, whether it's Instagram or any of the numerous art websites, and even the auction houses. There was a huge move to online auctions, especially post-COVID. For me, the digital world is a really great space for discovery. However, it doesn't compensate for seeing the work in the flesh and for having a conversation with an artist in person.
Complementary piece. And obviously, the world's evolving and changing so quickly, and all industries are facing change. How do you see the role of art advisory and creating changing in the next decade?
I mean, there have been developments in terms of the online curated space. I mean, I did an exhibition online in partnership with the Courtauld, one of the longest established educational institutions for art history. And it was a digital exhibition, but it meant that I was able to include Manet's Bar at the Folies Bergère with younger artists such as Beck Massey, for example, in the same realm. I think it enables us access to more information and a broader, wider network. In terms of my role with my clients, again, that's such a personal relationship that that's never going to change, I don't think.
And a lot of stuff that I do is obviously around empowering women and encouraging women to own their own wealth and take an interest in that and engage with it. Um, are you seeing more women coming to the table from a collecting perspective? And are you seeing that kind of balancing out more across the board?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I'm really excited about. Like you, I mean, I think that's what brought us together, wasn't it? Our passion and desire to support women, and I've always done that throughout my career. But more and more women are spending their time looking, engaging, and building really, really meaningful collections. And in fact, there was an Art Basel report that came out at the end of last year that showed that women may now even supersede men in their collecting power, which is amazing.
Yeah. And are you seeing that also transferring down into the artists themselves? Are we seeing more female artists coming through, more recognition being given to female artists?
Well, there's always been many, many female artists. Sadly, there's not historically been gender parity in the art world, or in the art market, rather. That is being readdressed. It's being readdressed in our institutions, thankfully, especially in the UK, which is amazing. So it's going to take a long time to find gender parity in the collections. So when I say the institutions are addressing it, they are addressing the exhibitions, the temporary exhibitions that they host. We see it in our leadership in museums in the UK. Many of the top institutions are run by women. However, our historical collections need some work, that's for sure. And in terms of the art market, thankfully in London, many of the top commercial galleries are led by women, and there are moves to see gender parity in the artists that they represent. The auctions have a long way to go. Women still are not making it into the evening auctions, so the top sales, in the same way as their male counterparts.
Why do you think that is?
I think historically men have done well in auction, obviously, and people gravitate towards safety. Yeah, I think that's the main reason. There's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done in so many industries, but it's great to see that progress is being made.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So if I'm, and I am actually, I'm on my own journey with this art collecting side and thoroughly enjoying it. But where would you start? What were the kind of top things if somebody was really wanting to kind of step into this space but didn't know how?
I mean, we have so many resources on our doorsteps in the institutions and museums. Um, so I think looking, like
Yeah.
spend as much time as you can looking, and you'll find that after a period of time, there'll be things that you gravitate towards
Yeah.
that really resonate with you, and then it's trying to make sense of those. There's so many online resources for reading about art history or learning. There's loads of online courses that you can do. But then also find a buddy or an art advisor
Yeah.
to, hold your hand, for want of a better word, to
Yeah.
bounce ideas off, to explore together what it is that really, makes sense to you, or which
Yeah.
gets you excited, or that gets you wanting to learn more.
And I think that role of the advisor, similar to the financial advisor role, is sometimes there's so much choice out there. As you're saying, there's so many resources. You can almost kind of be paralyzed into doing nothing because there's so much
Yes.
information. So actually finding somebody who can understand you, get to know you, and help you to work your way through that
Yes.
is really important.
I think navigating the market, which is vast, filtering for you, um, explaining where value lies as well with certain things, because that is very complex in the art market. Um, those are key. I mean, a really good example, and another place that one can go to sort of explore contemporary art or historical work actually, is Frieze and Frieze Masters, which takes place every October in London. Um, Frieze is an art fair, and it's been going for a couple of decades now. And it's a really, really great place to just explore contemporary artists. I take people around, but I will have done, like, I would have looked at everything online first. So I would have had all of the galleries previews, and I will highlight things that I know are of value or will mean something to a certain collector. So I'll do all of that filtering. So
So when the person goes, it's really.
yes.
When you're in a situation where you maybe aren't feeling your best or you're not feeling at your most creative, what do you do to help yourself kind of get out of that and feel inspired?
Well, one of the things is to clear my head. So nature is um, key for me, to be able to be in nature, to just have space. And as an extension of that, travel I find really inspiring, especially if you're going to new cultures or new cities, and maybe exploring like geographies and cultural heritage that isn't familiar to you. Looking at alternative art histories, I think is really valuable, and that adds also so much meaning to our lives as well, I think.
So, in my world, patience is a really important thing, and it's sometimes hard to get people to kind of come on that patient journey because markets and financial markets are so up and down. It's important to kind of keep that long term look. How important is patience in your world? And when you're building collections and the conversations that you're having, how are you kind of encouraging people to take that view?
Taking the long view with building an art collection is vital. In the same way that you describe, the financial markets, the art market often mirrors the financial market, just a little bit behind. Um, I always advise people to buy with their heart as well as their head, and to think long term. To buy things that you want to live with, that are going to give you joy, and that you're going to enjoy for the long term.
Perfect. And I think that this segues really nicely into why we collaborated together. So we must have met about 4 or 5 years ago. And we met at the Albright Club, which was an amazing female networking group just off of Oxford Street that sadly is no more, but was very much around empowering women. And I think I was really drawn to you because for me, with the clients that I'm working with, as much as I want to help people with their money and making sure that they've got stability and structure and they're doing all of the things that they should be doing, from a very personal perspective, having lost my mum when I was 22 and seeing all of the things that she did for, saving for retirement and different things, and unfortunately didn't get to those points. I've also really kind of embodied this sense of we've got to live for now. And how can people enjoy the money that they're making? And so was absolutely delighted when we met to be able to then bring our worlds together and create Wolf Collective, which is around encouraging people to spend money on art if that's a passion of theirs. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit more around Wolf Collective? Obviously, you came up with the name and what that means and what it means for you.
You've given me goosebumps. I love it. Well, it was such a joy, wasn't it, when we met and we started exploring all of these sort of parallel tracks and interests and desires to empower women, to support women, to build safe spaces for women to explore things that they might not historically have had the confidence or even thought was accessible or open to them.
Yeah.
I keep using this word meaning. Art adds meaning to our lives. And sometimes the art world can seem quite closed and there are certain barriers, which I've been trying to break down throughout my career. So this idea that we can bring people together and we can go and explore and journey and learn and just have fun in the moment whilst, adding something to our lives that we might not have thought was accessible is amazing to me. And so far, the Wolf Collective and the group of women that we've brought together that keeps growing, which is amazing. I've loved watching everybody asking questions, making discoveries, and as you say, like living in the moment, whilst and having these shared experiences, whilst thinking about the long term. We can do both, can't we?
Yeah, exactly.
And which I think is really important and a really healthy, rewarding place to be.
And as you know, for me, community is such a huge part of our wealth management business. And so Beth and I put on a series of events, normally around 3 to 4 a year, where we're bringing women together and sharing these experiences. And Beth is sort of opening the world of art to our clients, which is super exciting. So one of my